Hi, I'm Ben. I engineer the Universal Collaborative for Socio-Ecological Engagement, and my project seeks to answer how environmental education can adapt to new information space, which is categorized by social media. In the last decade, social media has grown considerably as a news source, with huge changes in how information is delivered, received, and interpreted. This has come with both positive and negative effects, especially with information decentralization. We have had big negative effects with problems with misinformation, hyperpartisanship, and echo chambers within this context, and this has been worsened by distrust in experts and institutions, which is especially bad for environmentalism, as environmental policy relies on community buy-in to be effective. Educators have struggled within this context to communicate environmental issues such as climate change and natural disasters post-COVID, and in this social media information space. This presentation seeks to answer how social media has altered how environmental education can function and how educators can effectively utilize social media to communicate environmental issues. To answer these questions, I entered the Utah Bothell Collaborative for Socio-Ecological Engagement, or the COSE, with a primary focus on the organization's social media and a secondary focus on in-person material and community workshops. I also created a detailed literature review on social media's impact on the information space and education, and looked at the current state of social media on a variety of online platforms, particularly pertaining to environmental education and science communication. From this research, I came up with a couple of observations. Social media provides new potential to connect with specific audiences, especially due to the data gathering, sub-communities, and targeted ads which social media facilitates. Having a deliberate focus on creating material and content with certain demographics in mind vastly increases effectiveness. Age, looking at figures 3 and 4, where in-person events were much more effective and attended by the elderly or families with young children versus social media posts, which were much more effective with young adults or teenagers, as well as other social cleavages such as urban versus rural, as different interests, values, and lived experiences between these groups changes how they respond to material. Additionally, non-traditional mediums have much greater reach than traditional sources and reduce barriers to access. Current traditional science sources have high barriers to entry due to cost and geographic constraints, while social media posts can be accessible to anyone, everywhere, and get thousands of views. Additionally, content which elicits strong emotional reactions was engaged with at a far greater rate. Looking at figure 5, anger and awe were much more engaged with than sadness, and shifting algorithmic incentives can create lasting change. Currently, social media platforms reward pure engagement, leading to intentionally controversial misleading posts, and changing what creators are rewarded for can permanently alter behavior even after incentives are removed. From those observations, I came up with a couple of best practices. Working with trusted community members vastly increases trust and buy-in. Working with farmers, pastors, and veterans to create content is much more effective than scientists alone, especially with the current distrust in institutions, and this can also help bridge divides between academics and the community. Uplifting, optimistic, and hopeful environmental news performs best, focusing on what we can change and what is going well instead of the normal dreary news about climate change vastly increases effectiveness. Educators should utilize multiple platforms to maximize accessibility to information. Different platforms are better at different things. YouTube works better as a broadcasting platform, for example, versus Twitter or Blue Sky, which is much better for dialogues and conversations. And educators can maximize reach by utilizing all of these different platforms. And collaborating with platforms to reward constructive additions instead of pure engagement can change discourse. It is unlikely that we can pressure platforms to implement change directly, but rewarding constructive feedback and dialogues and creators which create content which is truthful and reliable and creates meaningful dialogue can be very beneficial in changing dialogue and discourse. This can be done through giveaways or creator highlights on environmental pages. Given these results, scientists should prioritize plain language summaries and public outreach in their work. Science communicators must actively engage in a variety of online mediums. Educators need to directly consider the quirks of platforms when making content. It is vital that environmentalism addresses hyperpartisanship and echo chambers through its communication, and further research is needed to determine how educators can best engage with digital mediums and what formats work best for learning. Thank you so much. I would like to thank my site supervisor, Maddie, my faculty advisor, Kika, my friends, family, and POE classmates for all the support through this long and arduous project. Thank you so much for watching my presentation, and I hope you do well.